Hello, podcast listener. This is your host with the most, JJ, coming at you. Thanks for listening to JJ Meets World. We know you're going to enjoy today's episode with Randi. We're going to talk about some self-care. Tucker even helps her invent a brand new kind of self-care that you're going to be seeing a lot on things like Dr. Phil and The View because it's got such a catchy name. And we treat you to a very special lovers-only opening of this called The Blind Date, which you're going to get a kick out of because we've all been where my character's been. But first, a quick word from our sponsor. This episode of JJ Meets World is brought to you by Natalie Deutsch of Hatch Realty. Natalie has a proven track record to get your home sold faster and for more money. She is consistently focused on her clients' needs and wants throughout the entire process and make sure that they are well taken care of. If you're looking to buy or sell, reach out to Natalie today. On average, Natalie sells a home every 3.74 days. That's at least 2 a week. And last year, Natalie earned her clients on average over $4,000 above list price on their homes. And you don't have to take our word for it. Here's some of the great reviews Natalie has received. I was overwhelmingly impressed with Natalie and all the Hatch team. She was very responsive and responded to all of the emails within an hour. She gave great advice and encouragement from the listing and pictures, the offer, and all the closing details. The marketing team knew exactly how to promote my property, and I was pleased by how soon and easily my property received an offer. I was actually dreading selling my condo, and Natalie did such an awesome job that I felt like I really didn't need to do anything. The thing I most appreciated was that she really listened to what I wanted to do and respected my decisions. I would definitely recommend Natalie and all the Hatch Realty team. They made this process so wonderful. That was from Diane. So listen, if you're in the mood to buy or sell a home, give Natalie a call right now. You can reach her at 701-388-9338. Natalie, Natalie, at hatchrealtyfm.com, or you can go to livefargomorehead.com. That's livefargomorehead.com and find out some information. Huge thanks to Natalie Deutsch of Hatch Realty for sponsoring JJ Meets World.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirls as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called JJ Meets World.
Welcome to this episode of JJ Meets World. Randi is our guest, and we're going to do something a little bit different. We're celebrating the Valentine's Day holiday on the release of this episode, so I thought it'd be fun to do a little acting here, and we'll do a scene for you called The Blind Date. Now, Tucker, you're going to fill in the characters that you feel that need to be filled in.
Okay.
And we'll go from this, all right? So everyone, JJ and Randi, this is The Blind Date. I'm Mitch. Are you Angie?
Yes, Angie. Yeah.
Okay.
I like Ange, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. You can call me Mitch.
Okay. Hi.
I hope Olive Garden's okay. I've got a coupon.
Yeah.
So
I brought one too. Do you think they'd work together?
Well, mine says not valid with any other offer, but we could maybe tell them that it's separate checks.
Wait, let me see. Oh, mine's expired.
Oh.
Sorry.
So you're the kind of person who just lets coupons expire?
Not. Yes.
Okay.
Hey guys, welcome to Olive Garden. I'm Brad. How's it going today?
Great. We're on a blind date.
Oh, blind dates.
Sorry, I didn't know. Can't you tell?
Well, I was going to come over here and ask if this was actually your anniversary, but blind date is even better. Maybe.
Why is there a special for an anniversary?
Well, maybe today is the anniversary that you guys will be celebrating years from now, and you'll remember me, Brad, your waiter at Olive Garden, and you'll come back on your anniversary.
Do we get free breadsticks?
No.
Oh.
So what can I start you two with?
I thought breadsticks were just included with the meal, but I guess do you
sorry,
want a drink? Do you want wine?
Yeah,
house wine?
sure. Yeah, house wine's great.
I'm a recovering alcoholic, so I won't be having any.
Okay. One house wine and one club soda?
Yes, that'd be great.
I'll be right back.
Thanks.
I think I went to high school with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he doesn't remember me. It's obvious.
Right.
So Diane tells me that you work in finance.
Yes, I do.
And so you like at a bank or
a credit union, yeah, which is the unsung hero of the financial world.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I work in technology, but I bank at a bank.
Oh.
Do people still say banking if they go to a credit, like you bank at a credit union, or do
no,
you
we
credit?
call it crediting. Yeah, you credit at a credit union. So
is
what do
that
you
like
have
your forever job, or?
Yeah. I mean, I've worked a lot of different. My career's been crazy. You know, I was a waiter at Olive Garden. Before.
Oh, so you know all the ins and outs.
Yes. And actually, our waiter and I. Anyway. I don't trust him, is all I'm going to say.
Oh, wow. I thought you were going to say that you had a relationship previously.
I mean, maybe that's what you could call it. But anyway, we won't get into that. But I have, I worked at Olive Garden. And then I worked at a car wash place, which is unfortunate. And then I worked, and then I decided, I need to get my life together. Like, I want something really great. And so I decided to work at a credit union. And so I'm the janitor here.
Oh. At the credit union or at the Olive Garden?
At the credit union.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, that's cool.
So that's finance. I help support the people that work with the money because I don't trust myself. Well, obviously by the expired coupons, I'm not that great with money. So I figured, why not clean up after them?
Sure, that makes sense. That makes sense.
All right, guys, here's your club soda.
Thank you.
Thanks,
for
Brad. For you, I put the little salt around the rim like you like on margaritas, but you always wanted to have it with your house
you
wine.
Remembered.
Yeah.
I can't believe you remembered.
Why are you guys staring at each other so much?
So today's specials are spaghetti.
Okay. Is it an all-you-can-eat pasta situation that we got going on?
No.
Okay.
Just a regular price on spaghetti. That's the house special
do
today.
you remember that one time when we just everyone had left the restaurant?
Oh my God. We were trying to shop for a purple mattress online.
Yes.
And then I accidentally bought a mustache and you were like, you should wear the mustache. And then that's why I still have it on right now.
I can't get over it. I still think it looks great. Yeah. I don't think you should ever get rid of that.
It's good to see you again. I'm glad you're here.
We'll start with some calamari.
All right. One order of calamari coming up. It's pretty rude, but I'll get you. I know what you want.
Okay,
I'll get you what you want.
Okay. I heard calamari were buttholes.
Somebody, that's a an old wives' tale.
I don't know. I heard it on a podcast, and podcasts always tell the truth.
What? No.
It was an investigative podcast on calamari and buttholes, pig buttholes.
I work in technology. I think I know what's right and what's wrong when it comes to podcasts.
Okay, what do you do in technology then?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm Bill Gates' assistant.
Oh, does he eat calamari? Does he know?
He loves it. Uh-huh. Bill Gates, there's nothing he loves more than putting the little rings on his hands, on his fingers, and then eating them off of his fingers. You know how kids put olives on the top? Sometimes he'll put a calamari ring on every finger and then a little tiny black olive on the top, and he'll pretend like they're people walking around, wearing a little tiny vest, and they've got a hat on.
Mm-hmm. One time he was in town visiting, and I cleaned up a conference room after their meeting, and I actually saw some black olives.
It was probably Bill.
Do you think that's how he conducts meetings?
Probably. And he likes to do a lot of role playing.
Yeah. You know who's really good at role playing?
Who?
Our waiter.
Brad?
Yeah. With or without the mustache, he's got some great characters.
When Brad and I were in high school together, it was rumored that he was having a sexual relationship with one of the teachers, and it really ended up ruining his career. He
has always enjoyed older, more mature women. Mm-hmm. So I don't blame him.
This was a male math teacher.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone. All right. So here's your calamari.
Thank you.
And for you, I got you the rigatoni stuffed with old leftover shrimp that you always liked.
I love. Why waste it?
Yeah. So there's that. And your total, God, I was never very good at math. I should have studied more in high school. I'm going to have to go back and get the total for you guys and the price right now. But is there anything else I can put in for you? Some ice cream, maybe some cheeseburgers, some leftover spaghetti.
I mean, this is only the appetizer, so I thought are we done? Is this over already?
Well, when's your shift over?
About 20 minutes. We got to move this along and turn these tables over, guys. So
yeah,
I guess.
Well, I'll be back. You guys talk this through, and I'm going to go.
I've got a coupon. I'd like to. Oh, he took off.
He's done. Yeah. So anyway,
this is. I gotta be honest. This really isn't working out for me. I thought I was ready to get back into the dating scene, and I obviously am not.
Yeah.
I've got 5 cats in my car right now who all need to be taken to the vet.
What are their names?
Their names are Marsha, Cindy, Greg, Brad, and Tony.
Brad's a good name.
I'm kind of rethinking that right now.
Or sometimes Todd.
My dad's name is also Brad, so that's why it sticks out to me.
Yeah.
In my family, we all call each other by our names. So when I call, I do not say, "Hey, hi, mom." I'm like, "Hello, Latoya."
Yeah.
So,
Well,
Okay, guys, your total came to $22.28, and I'm just gonna set that right there for
and
you.
I have a coupon.
And then also just for you to know, I don't know what else you're doing later, but my Dragon Ball Z cosplay group is going to be over at Red River Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Galactic Bowling Night.
Of course.
And,
yeah, I actually had that in my calendar.
I've got a bunch of highlighters too, so please
Okay.
come on over. If this, I don't,
Yeah, I don't know. He's got cats in his car.
I'll see you later.
Okay.
And I have a coupon. I just don't know. I'd like the coupon to be taken off of the bill before we pay it.
Here's one thing about Brad. How about I leave my expired coupon and you leave your coupon and we just go?
Just leave?
Yeah, people used to do that here all the time.
It's so refreshing. I've never
Yeah.
done anything illegal like that. I
haven't
would love
either.
to.
This might be more fun than like cosplay.
Yeah.
It's like I'm getting a rush of like, this like not might be cool and like I don't know.
Right.
What if I could never show my face here again? You know
right.
what I mean?
You could never come back and never interact with Brad again.
Yeah.
Because you're going to saddle him with the bill.
Yeah.
I liked it. Do
I
you want to come to the vet with me?
I actually really like cats.
Do you?
I've always wanted 5.
Oh, really? Because I've been thinking about getting another one.
No way.
I like even numbers.
And even 6.
Yeah.
Yes. I thought that. I was
Because that
thinking
way you
that
can
just
be
the other day.
happy with 3 and then mad at 3.
Could I name it?
I'd love that. That'd be great.
Olive.
Olive? That's a great name. That's a great name.
Just like our date.
We're going to go find a black cat.
And Bill Gates would like it too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I tell you what. Well, let's go.
Let's go. Bye, Brad. Oh.
JJ Meets World.
Randy, welcome back to JJ Meets World. So exciting to have you.
Thank you for having me.
I think you might be one of a handful of people who've been in almost every studio that we've had. And so now you're getting the hat trick of our 3rd studio setup.
I like it.
Do you?
Yeah, it's
Like it?
cozy.
So for people who don't know about our studio, we've got like this couch and we have a big screen TV
Yep.
and fish.
Yep.
So
Not the
studio number
band.
3, not the band.
Actual fish.
If we did have the band Fish, would you be more apt to listen to this podcast?
Probably. Yeah.
Okay.
Depends on how long their like jamming sessions go.
Well, that's the thing, right? It could
Yeah.
be 5 hours.
Right. So we'll see.
Jam bands. You're a fan of jam bands. So am I.
I definitely had a jam band phase.
I remember going to my first Dave Matthews concert and going, nope. It was at 10K, and I was like, I don't get what this is. And then I went to another, and now I've been to like 19.
Do you know what I hate about that?
What?
Is that I was like the first person in high school
were you?
to like Dave Matthews, me and Ross Peterson. I had a patch on my backpack and I was like one of the OG Dave fans in our circle of friends. And then like everyone else, then all you guys are like, well, maybe we'll go to these concerts. And you go to these amazing concerts. And I've only been able to go to one. And it was in Minneapolis at like the Civic Center, and I got nosebleed seats because I couldn't find anyone that wanted to go with me. So I went with this guy. I think his name was Todd. I don't even that I randomly
Shout out
knew.
to Todd, we think.
Yeah, and he didn't know any of the songs, and so I'm in the nosebleeds looking down at the pit part, and like everyone's singing all the words and grooving, and I'm up in the nosebleeds like by myself
With Todd.
And my mom had to drive me because I couldn't drive myself. And then I just, because of life circumstances, I never ended up going to another Dave concert. And then you go to 19 and you
19.
don't even like him.
And I will tell you this much. Dave, he and I made eye contact directly at
don't-
the River's Edge Festival. He said, "This is a new song. I hope you like it." And I yelled, "We love Mercy, Dave," because that was his new song, which is a prayer for peace, by the way. I'm going to throw that out. I saw Dave the night of the Sandy Hook shootings, and the speech he gave about everyone loving each other was amazing. But I yelled that, and he looked down at me, and directly, and he winked at me.
No, he did
Winked
not.
at me, and then I looked right. I'm standing with Phil London. I looked right at Phil, and we both go, "Whoa!" And then I was featured on the Dave Matthews Band front.
Featured?
Featured. Because, at a concert, they took a picture of Dave, and his back was facing the audience, and he was kind of smiling at the photographer. And there, to the right of his
Featured.
guitar, you can clearly see me in the pit. At the time, I'm going to say, previous guests Jason Jacobson and Phil Lund had gone to go get beers, and so I end up right there.
Why are you telling me this?
Oh, and then my mom met Dave Matthews backstage at 10K. And
That's
she
okay.
didn't,
I approve of that one.
yeah, and she was like, I don't know who this guy is. And she's like, hello, are you supposed to be back here? And he's like, yeah, do you know where I can get a bottle of water? And she's like, yeah, come over here. And so she gave him a bottle of water, and she's like, are you one of the performers? And he's like, yeah, I'm Dave Matthews. She's like, oh, my kid has talked about you a little bit. And she's like, would you mind if I take a picture? And he goes, no. And so they take a selfie together backstage. And then they chat for a little bit about how he loves going to places that have like home cooked food and stuff. So, yeah.
That's a magical moment. I mean, Phil actually invited me a few times to the Gorge when they went.
The Gorge is a great place
I
to
just
see his
never
shows.
could go.
So have you still only seen him once?
Yes, I need a redemption concert.
Oh, yeah, we got to get you. Like 4th of July when he's out at Alpine Valley, those are great concerts.
Yeah, we got to make it happen. The closest I got recently was my husband and I were driving from Washington State back to Fargo, and we had XM radio on, and it was like we got this new car and we were driving it back. And so we were like going through, and he had fallen asleep somewhere in Washington. And I found there's a whole radio station dedicated to Dave Matthews Band songs. And I was freaking out. And so I was like singing along and all this stuff. And then that lasted maybe like, I don't know, an hour. And then I was like, okay, that's a lot of Dave.
What's your favorite Dave Matthews song?
Oh gosh. I mean, the one that made me fall in love with Dave was Satellite.
Oh.
You know, and that was like the first time I heard it. I had heard like Crash Into Me and that stuff before, but when I heard that one, I was like, what is happening? And it was Johnny Izert from high school and Jordan Leppert. They were like, let us show you this world of Dave Matthews. and then my friend, when I did Gooseberry Park Players in the summertime, one of my friends in the cast, his parents were professors in Singapore. So he would do the play in the summer. They'd come back for the summer and then he'd move back to Singapore. Well, in Singapore, he could get all these bootleg live show CDs. So he would send me these bootleg Dave live CDs. I probably got those in a closet somewhere still. But yeah, it's Magical World. But that's the one that comes to my head first, is just that initial Satellite song.
I Love You and Me. Of course, Ants Marching, which is the most like blah. I can't believe you love that. But it is like, I love dancing to it.
Those first few beats. Womp, 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 like the party's getting started. Like it just like amps you up instantly.
If that starts a show, you're like, yes. If it's the last encore song, you're like, yes. And they can make Ants Marching 20 minutes long for all I care, because I have a great time. That's not anything to do with why we brought you on today, but it's just a nice segue.
We could turn
for
it into a Dave Matthews podcast.
No, I think we're good. We'll do something.
How do you feel about DMB?
I mean, I've just been to too many parties that were ruined by some dude pulling out a guitar and trying to play Crash Into Me.
That's horrible.
So it's not the right vantage point. I've never actually given Dave, as you all call him.
That's how you know you're a fan, is if you call him Dave.
A chance, and I'm probably never going to.
That's okay. I support that.
But I'm not here to poop on you guys' fandom.
We're here to honor our differences. So that's okay. Do you ever see...
Your podcast is so different than our podcast.
Yeah, a little bit. I just want to add, do you ever see a dancing Nancy or
like a fire dancer?
Yeah, on
like
someone's car, and you're like,
we're friends.
You're like, you, sir, or madam.
Not only that, but when I see the sign of the Deathly Hallows like on a bumper sticker, I know that I have a kindred spirit.
We're gonna be okay.
I was at an event last night that had a huge silent auction, and I'm walking down the silent auction table, and the first thing that catches my eye is there's a signed photo of Tim Allen giving a thumbs up, and then a Buzz Lightyear doll next to him. And I thought, well, that's a weird thing. And then I saw a Mario Andretti signed picture, and I'm like, where did they get all these autographs? But then they had a Daniel Radcliffe signed photo.
Then it got real.
Yeah, and so I was emceeing the event in front of 600 people, and at one point while I'm emceeing the event, I'm like, stop bidding on the Daniel Radcliffe. I want it really bad. So whoever out there is bidding this thing up, I don't have children. I will appreciate that much more than your kid will. They're going to go to college and leave it behind. I'm going to hang this in my office, and when the governor comes, I'm going to show it to him. So let me have it. And I didn't get it. Someone ended up scoring it for like $480.
What a jerk.
I know.
Where's that money going to go, huh?
Yeah, only the Ronald McDonald House. Thanks a lot, Ronald McDonald House. But I did end up winning 2 pieces of art by local artists.
Oh, nice.
And I had the big piece of art that I won has to be like 6 feet by 6 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And I all of a sudden was like, oh, how am I going to get this home? And it did not fit in the back of the car. Finally, we figured out a way to get it. We had to bring both of the seats, the front seats, as far forward as we could, and then kind of jostle it into the back. It was awkward to drive home with that.
Awkward jostling.
It was. Like, I hate packing stuff that I don't anticipate. I'm great when it's like, give me a U-Haul. I'll pack that U-Haul like nobody's business.
You're good at that.
Thank you very much. That's one of my skills.
Yep.
I am not great at a lot of things. I'm great at very few things, and packing, one of those very few things.
Could this podcast episode be called Awkward Jostling?
Awkward jostling. Sounds like a Dave Matthews song, though, doesn't it?
It actually does.
Tripping Billies, Awkward Jostling, and then Halloween. The great set list right there. Okay, so back to you, the guest.
Yes.
So it's not just me talking. Since the last time we spoke on this podcast, your podcast has really taken off.
Yeah.
And you've really nailed down this idea of taking care of oneself, self-care. That's exciting.
It is exciting. It's interesting. So the podcast is called Simple Self-Care. You can find it on iTunes and wherever you download stuff. But anyway, it came from the idea of, so I have a holistic practice in town doing body work and yoga and such. And clients would come see me, they'd have all this body pain and we'd figure it out. And then they'd go back into their everyday lives and recreate the pain with their lifestyle. And so I started teaching more about how to make your lifestyle more of a healing opportunity instead of perpetuating the pain that you're spending a lot of time and money trying to fix. And so that started with a newsletter, and then I called Self-Care Sundays, and then that turned into a blog, and then I just decided to start podcasting. And yeah, that's grown a lot. I do solo episodes and then have guests, and you guys have been on.
Yeah, we did.
It's actually one of my more popular episodes.
Oh, really?
So you guys are fancy like that.
There you go. See, it's all about like the synergy between podcasts,
they can
right?
sense it. And yeah, so it's been really cool. The term self-care has blown up, and I have mixed feelings about that. And I actually went through an identity crisis with the podcast because I wanted to change the title, because I'm like, I don't want them to think that this is a podcast about just like superficial like bubble baths and like, all these things are getting associated with self-care that are actually ways of checking out of yourself instead of checking in. And so the bubble baths are great. They can be very healing, but I think that's the gauge with what I think self-care actually is doing things that help you tune into how you're doing instead of vegging out or ignoring what is going on. And so I've had to kind of reclaim the term and continue to spread the good word of this is actually a very important part of how you operate as a human being, and not just something you throw in when you have time or money or whatever. And so it's been really fun to keep talking about it and to keep teaching it in a way that is doable and accessible, and not just, I don't know, people think they don't have time for it, or they feel guilty for taking care of themselves or whatever. And so it's been cool to help shift that a little bit.
So when I think of self-care, I am thinking about those things like taking time to do some stretching. And I learned a lot from you after I threw my back out right before I was about to be in a play.
Yes. Yes.
And Randy, like your page said like massage. So I was like, okay, well, I need to get in for a massage. But it's not like a traditional massage. And that's what I think, people kind of need to understand is this is something that's going to help you from the inside out with the physical part of that. Now, I love a bubble bath. It's great. It's fantastic.
Yes.
But I know exactly what you're talking about, where you just sort of pretend like things aren't happening for a little bit, but then you go back to yelling at someone in your car because they cut you off and not saying like, no, we just need to take time and like figure out how to make life a better place for all of us to coexist.
I mean, we're still human beings and we're still going to get pissed off and be in pain or whatever. I was insanely cranky yesterday. It's not like you're never going to avoid pain and suffering.
Why are you cranky?
It was a feminine matter.
Okay.
I don't know. You want to talk about that?
My wife gets cranky that same way.
Yeah. The moon and things
the moon's affected.
There's a lot going on. But it was also because I hadn't eaten breakfast and I was getting ready to go. I had a weird dream the night before. There was like all of these layers and like my poor husband was like positive and trying to make me feel better and finally had to be like, here's the deal. I had a weird dream. I'm getting ready to play a gig that I haven't played for an hour by myself in a long time. So I'm nervous. It's my lady times. The moon is out. Like I was just like, so that's what's happening. And I was like, can you just pretend I'm by myself so my moon doesn't affect you? And he's like, is this how you want to be feeling if you're by yourself? I'm like, yes. And I just like stormed back up the stairs. And then it all worked itself out.
And then you became less cranky because your gig was awesome.
It went well. Yeah. And you move on, but like things accumulate. Things like it's not, you don't do these practices so you don't ever have a time, it's so you know what to do when you're having a time and you have tools in your tool belt. So in that moment, I knew that I needed to communicate properly with my husband what was going on so it wasn't getting misinterpreted as something dumb. And I had to eat some food, I had to do my breathing, and I had to remind myself that I was going to do something fun and then have fun doing it, So it's like it's just continuing this relationship with myself where I have an awareness of what's actually going on and I continue to like do what I need to do. And that works and that looks differently in any given moment. But
have you ever worked with a couple at the same time who both are seeking self-care because it needs to help the self of the two instead of just the individual?
I haven't. I mean, in a group setting, there's been like couples that come to my yoga class and then they like do it together at home and it becomes like this thing. But I have worked with individuals. So I do some like one-on-one mentoring to help people implement it into their lives. And I had one client who was having a really hard time with his marriage. And when we first started talking, it was all the things that were wrong with the marriage and with her. And I'm like, that's not my realm, but like, let's focus on making sure you feel like you're taking care of yourself. And we worked together for a month. And it was interesting because by the end, that wasn't the conversation anymore. It was, they definitely still had things to work on, but they had a breakthrough during that month together. He wasn't projecting his own dissatisfaction with himself at that time. And so it's really interesting of like people say like, oh, taking care of yourself is so selfish when actually it's probably the most important thing you can do for your relationships and the people that you care about. Because when you're not leading and associating with people with your crap in the way, you can have a more accurate idea of what's going on and you can hold space for a different kind of energy and not just, your own stuff.
What about self-care and food? Because I know a lot of people, have emotional eating that takes place. And so they think, I'm going to take care of myself tonight by ordering this pizza and, just binging on some Oreos. And that's taking care of myself because I'm giving my body what it wants. Do you find that that's a tough thing for people to like kind of crack in half and decide, yep, it's time to do something different?
Yeah, and I'm actually experimenting that with myself. I don't have a lot of vices, but I'm definitely a pasta connoisseur. And like I realized that when I would make a big bowl of pasta, it was because I felt out of control. And I was like, nobody can tell me how much pasta I can eat. Don't you dare try. You know, like it was just like these weird kind of relationships with food. And so I'm pretty open on my podcast and stuff about my own relationship with my depression. And so this winter, part of my way of caring for that is with diet and experimenting with it. It's not like this is how I have to eat forever, but I'm like, I've done a lot of research and maybe cutting out some of these things that I think comfort me are actually perpetuating my mood. And so I've been doing that for the past 2 weeks. And it's been really interesting because I do feel a lot better. I did notice my tendencies to what was happening when I started craving these things that I know don't make me feel very well. And how can I work through that or find different substitutes for that? And so I think that it's totally okay to celebrate with cake and good food and socializing. But that, I think if that's the norm, that's not really self-care. If it's something that is, because you know that's not serving your body. Like I don't need to tell you that. People know themselves what is destructive eating and what is a fun celebration occasionally. But it so easily gets out of whack because of how those things influence our bodies. They're addictive. But then also we do have these emotional webs with food. It's really fascinating. So I do think it's okay to like, on a Friday and you've had a long week, order some Chinese food and watch some Netflix. Like there's nothing wrong with that. If you did that every day all the time, then, you know, that's going to allow you to check out and feel like crap. So,
right. If every day is a hard day that you just need to get through, something's wrong.
And that's a gauge. Like we make ourselves feel guilty for those behaviors, but when you can notice that is happening every day, like all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this every day for a couple weeks or a month, then you can be like, something is off, something needs to change. So there's no need to always associate guilt when we notice these things, or like, oh, I can't believe I did that. Or like when people come to my yoga classes and they used to be a certain place with their bodies and now they can barely do a forward fold. It's like, there's no reason for guilt or judgment. It's just life. And it's a continual like beginning again and reevaluating and adjusting with what life gives you.
So you're saying that like there's a new birth every day? Every day is like a birth?
Yes, with the sunrise.
I mean, because I sleep naked, so I enter every day as I did when I was born.
Do you cry like you're being woken up?
Yes. Yep, my wife slaps me a little
Slaps you in
bit.
the butt, yeah.
It gets me crying. There's always a doctor around the house somewhere.
Oh, that's nice. For many reasons.
You're just covered in goop.
Yeah, that's what I visualized.
And there's a lot of people wondering about how my bowel movements are going.
Yeah.
Like that's my initial. That's every day for me. That's every morning.
You should be looking at your bowels.
You should. They say that people really need to take stock in what's going on with their gutty works. And like, if you're only having liquid movements, that's bad. But you also shouldn't be having ones that like hurt, like are so thick and sturdy that it hurts you.
Yeah.
Like I just listened to
thick and sturdy.
I just listened to a podcast about this, about how like doctors are saying like people aren't like keeping track. They think, oh, because I pooped today, it's normal.
Yeah, I think the episode title is Thick and Sturdy. Sorry.
It's exactly what I thought.
But it's true. So let's segue into this.
Yeah.
My wife and I have now moved to the point in our marriage where we're not closing the bathroom door.
Wow, that's a big step.
It is a huge step. Not that we engage in conversation, or I wouldn't walk over to there like while she's using the bathroom and talk to her, or vice versa.
Yeah.
But we've stopped closing the door. And I think partially it's because we have a little dog who likes to come visit you when you're in the bathroom. And because he needs to know where everyone is at any time. And so if we don't, it's just scratch, 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 scratch.
Yes.
But that being said, do you and your husband, do you use the door for the bathroom, or
We're
you leave it
getting
open?
real here on the podcast. You know, we only have one bathroom. So we live in an old house. And so we've been pretty good at honoring each other's alone time in there, because I think it's important. but there are some times when we're getting ready and like we
Right,
like
scenario.
Yeah.
You're in the shower
yeah.
and your husband needs to use the restroom.
Yeah.
Is he going to go in there and use the restroom while you're in the shower?
Yeah, that's happened sometimes. I think the longer you're together, the like slowly it starts to unravel, you know, in those boundaries.
Right.
We still are pretty good, and we have opposite times of needing it, like for the significant alone time in the bathroom. Not getting too graphic.
Yep. You've timed it out properly.
Yeah. So I'm more of a morning person and
Okay.
he's more of an evening person.
Interesting.
And so and that just works out for us. But, every once in a while, exceptions have to be made. And hopefully you can still look them in the eye afterwards. And
I actually prefer that we're just being vague about everything that's in there because the listeners' imaginations are running wild right
Yep.
now.
we're talking about poop.
Yep. We're talking about poop. In fact, let me tell you
Viscosity,
this.
color, smell.
I have trained my body now to poop on company time.
Oh, that's so cool.
Right.
Because you're getting paid to poop.
I'm getting paid to poop.
Yes, I love when that happens.
And then, I don't have to worry at all about the bathroom itself. I know there's
Yeah.
always going to be toilet paper stocked in there.
Yeah.
And so, I have started going to work earlier in the morning.
Yeah.
And then I get to leave earlier in the afternoon. But I go earlier in the morning so that I have my breakfast. I get cleaned up at home. And then I go to work and I put down my laptop. And then it's right away to the good bathroom. So...
I had a revelation just the other day about things you can do for self-care while you're on the toilet.
Really?
Yes.
Do tell.
And I was thinking of this just yesterday, and I'm like, would this be weird to start telling people? But think about what you do when you're on the toilet for a long period of time. Probably have your phone.
Yep, I'm Facebooking. I'm
You're
Angry
scrolling
Birdsing.
away, and think what your body posture is like when you're doing that.
Oh, it's hunched over.
Yeah, and that's how we are most of the day if we're desk working and things like that. So what if instead of using it for mindless scrolling, we did some stretches? So you sit up more and you're moving your neck around and you're doing some belly breaths and you're checking in with yourself. And you just, because people always say, oh, I don't have time for stuff like that.
Yeah, you should call these potty Pilates.
Potty Pilates. I was trying to think of a clever name. Tucker, you did it. Although Pilates, we'd have to make it more of a workout somehow.
Do it, yeah.
But that's my philosophy with self-care, and what I teach a lot is how can you slip it in when you're in something you already have to do, on your commute or while you're making breakfast, what are you listening to? That can make or break your day. And so why not, when you have a bathroom break, you have some alone time and you can be moving your spine and stretching your neck and checking in with yourself. And yeah.
It's freaking sweet.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
Thank you.
I'm going to do that without a doubt. I got a squatty potty.
Ooh,
and
that's
I
good.
enjoy it. And
Yeah.
I don't
My
know.
squatty
It
potty.
could be a 100% placebo, but I feel like I have better bowel movements because of it.
It's not placebo. Have you seen the commercial?
Yeah, but it's got a unicorn pooping out ice cream.
We
To
have-
be fair, a commercial is marketing and not raw scientific data. But I have a squatty potty and I love it.
If I take marketing seriously, that means that a little boy outside playing will become a snowman, and the only way to bring him back is Campbell's tomato soup.
Have you tried it?
I'm afraid of becoming a snowman.
Okay.
Because I saw that animated movie, The Snowman, as a kid, where the little kid
Yeah.
sneaks out of the house, which is
Yeah.
very dangerous, by the way.
Yeah.
Kids should not be sneaking out of the house in just their bathrobe. But that snowman is dead. Come one good sunny day, he's dead. Thaw's done.
Unless you have more soup.
Well, that's the thing is if you become a snowman, and that's the thing. What if I become a snowman and I can't find any soup?
Yeah, but what about the snowman from Frozen? You have to
Olaf?
get
I need a friend who's got magical powers.
they're out there.
Do you know how to?
I
you
could
got
try
magical
it.
powers?
I have some tools in my tool belt.
I give it a shot. Why not?
So the squatty potty, I would like one, but what I do is I have a little garbage can.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm sharing this. Because this is my other philosophy of self-care is you don't always need to buy something else
Sure.
or
You're
whatever.
saying your squatty potty is ethically sourced.
Yeah, it's multi-use, right? So I have a little garbage can and I move it over and I put my feet up on it.
Now,
And
are you
that's
like
how I
tipping
do
it
it.
over, or are you putting it on the rim?
You have to you have to land at the same time, so it takes a little bit of agility so you don't knock it over.
Because
But
you
that's
don't want
what I
garbage
do.
going everywhere.
Exactly. Yeah. And so
Because then you're just pooping while you're standing
there's
in garbage.
pooping, who knows what's in there.
I think the next step for the Squatty Potty is like how you can try on glasses with a computer. You need it to like match your body a little bit more because also if you line up your feet directly with how the footprints are printed on it, you're actually like curving your feet in and doing this sort of weird, almost duck stance.
Yeah.
Which just feels awkward. And I don't think how everyone's bodies are like that.
This brings me to the point of my issues with ergonomic products because they're made for like the average body, but there's like no such thing as that. And so people spend a lot of time on a new chair or a certain keyboard or all this stuff thinking like this is going to save everything when really if you find the exact right fit for you and it helps, great. But most people, they just perpetuate their unhealthy posture with like their hands in a new position. You know, it doesn't really help anything. And so I'm not a big fan of ergonomic products necessarily, unless you find something that you totally love by chance. But I makeshift a lot of my stuff to help me sit better at my desk or the toilet.
Yeah, why not, right?
Yeah, it's important.
Do you have a favorite kind of pen? That is a hard left on this,
Oh
but
gosh.
I feel like you might be someone who really likes a particular brand or style of pen.
I'm glad I strike you as such.
A pen aficionado.
I'm not a pen aficionado. I actually like just like I think Bic, is that the brand?
Yeah, like a Bic stick.
Like where it's just it's like a clear pen with a black top. Those are just sturdy and reliable pens.
Are you using black or blue ink?
Black. And I got a bunch for my studio and put them in this cute little jar. And one day I show up and all of those have been replaced with these shitty blue pens. And I'm like, who did this and why? Like, it's really mysterious. And so I've been putting up with those pens, but there's one left. And so that one I keep kind of tucked away in the jar. I'm like sharing all of my weird things with you guys. But that is, it's bothered me, but I'm not like annoyed enough to switch them back out.
I understand that.
The pen universe is a weird universe.
It is.
It's like, where do they go? How do they get changed out? Why are there even new pens being made? You know, like, what about waiters? What happens to all their pens? And why are people taking them?
Mm-hmm.
Like, just put them back in the thing.
Does your logo on a pen actually drive business to your institution? Because let me tell you something. My favorite pen locally in the Fargo-Moorhead area is a bank pen, a specific bank.
Yeah.
And I don't bank with them, and I will never bank with them.
Is it a patriotic sounding bank?
No, it sounds like
They've got a vision for the future.
There's a golden bridge in San Francisco that is very similar.
They have great pens.
They do have great
but
pens.
I also bank there.
Oh, well, there you go. So it's good for you.
But I only knew of their pens from banking there. So it didn't make me want to bank there. I'd say when a place has a good pen, that's about it. I don't think it brings them business. It's just like, oh, did you get a pen from such and such place? Or, oh, I found this pen. Aren't they good pens? And that's what you end up talking about and not necessarily going to the place where you acquired it.
A good pen is a pen that makes you feel good when you're using it, right? It's all about the flow, and it's about the distribution of the ink when it puts it out there.
Yeah.
See,
I like a
disagree.
nice.
It's all about the grip to me. It's the grip.
No, I need a nice black flow coming out of mine, and I don't care about brand as long as it's got that flow. Yeah.
See, I've wanted for years to do this sort of giant gotcha campaign where I put fake pens out into the community, leading to a fake website, and it's all sorts of stuff. So it's it's like Mark's homemade pasta, and then be like, I make pasta in the shapes of your kid's face. Call me for birthdays, and then it all leads to the same website, and then it's another one that it's like Tucker's do good morning podcast, and it's a podcast about I say good morning to you every morning. It's a personalized podcast, and then it all goes back to this website, and the website loads and you click on anything and it just takes you a page that says "Gotcha."
You should Is your face on there? I just imagine it. I imagine being like that scene out of Jurassic Park. Where the guy's like, you know?
You didn't say the magic word.
Yeah, that's what you're doing. I would be curious to see the traffic to that website.
Oh, it would be like
It's all pen based.
right. Well,
Yeah, but you
totally
would see if they
pen-based traffic.
actually work.
Right.
see, we're living in like the advent of the cell phone has really changed pen advertising, because before you'd have to hold on to that pen all the time. But now if I sign a check or a document and I'm like, that's a nice pen, and I look at this website, I could immediately go and find them on Facebook if I really wanted.
That's true.
Yeah. So maybe pen advertising is coming back.
I bring my own pens from home to work. I don't like the work pens that they keep on.
Have you ever asked your office manager to order the pens that you like?
No, it's a personal choice. I think I'm not gonna. If I'm gonna make waves, it's not gonna be over pens. I'm very happy to provide my own pens and use those.
Let me tell you about the best pens. The pens I use now are the Sharpie pens. It's not a Sharpie marker.
They're solid.
It's their
You're right.
pen. It's their felt point pen.
Those are
Great
good.
flow.
Oh my God, they're amazing, and they seem to last forever. And like when they're done, they're actually done.
Yeah.
It's not like an ink pen where you can like give it a couple little quick, flicks.
Yeah.
It's solid enough. It gives your handwriting some extra confidence.
Oh.
Yeah, you come
Nice.
off as more confident, I think, when you use it.
Back in the day, apparently, you would know if someone was frequently writing because they would have ink stains on their tongue.
Yes. On their tongue?
Oh,
Yeah,
for the
because they
quill?
would, because
Oh,
you'd
yeah.
be licking like the tip of the quill, and so
But like, why lick the quill? Like, why do that? What
do you like the taste of bird?
Did you ever hear about? This was a true story, but it was, I think, probably in the 20s or something. Dawn of the 20th century, they were selling these watches with mercury that would make the watch face glow. And the way that you'd get the mercury on there was they would had women who were literally painting the watch face with the mercury.
And they'd have to lick
they'd lick the brush to get it to a
No.
fine point so they could do it. And they all, died gruesome deaths.
I read like a big article about that somewhere.
I saw a play in the Twin Cities last year
Ugh.
about that.
Gross.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yummy. Self-care. Don't
Self-care.
eat
Don't-
mercury.
don't
Is that
lick
on your
mercury.
podcast?
Yes.
mercury?
I actually have a disclaimer at the end of every episode.
You know what's
about
funny
mercury.
is actually how restrictive that makes a lot of fish eating.
It is.
Yeah.
It is something you have to be mindful of. It's
That's
true.
why Robert Downey Jr. No, Jeremy Piven had to drop out.
I
of
confuse those
being
two
in
all the time
some-
too. Yeah,
some project
very similar.
because he said I've been eating too much sushi and now I've got mercury poisoning. That's for real. Like
Are you guys left-handed or right-handed?
I'm right-handed.
Right-handed,
Are you a lefty?
except when it counts.
I don't know what that means, and I'm not going to ask. If you're ever wondering what high school was like for me,
It was awful.
it
I
was
bet.
these two making comments like that and me just not asking follow-up questions.
Sometimes there were
that's
follow-up
pretty much
questions.
Right. You're right. I mean,
Sometimes there were follow-up questions.
Sometimes there weren't. It was educational. No, I'm a lefty, and that means I always would get smudge on my hands when I would write. Still do.
I don't know what's worse was that I made a joke or that you literally judged us for not being left-handed people because you're like your eyes like rolled when you found out we were both right-handed and it was like, oh, okay. Let me guys tell you something about real life from left-handed people.
It's a tough world out there. You have to read magazines the opposite direction.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
like I've had to learn the guitar right-handed so I could play any guitar.
Isn't that like
Can't
what
you
the
just,
Beatles
like,
did?
can't you just bonk, switch it over to the other side?
I
and
mean,
then
yeah,
bonk,
but I
switch
would
it over
have
to that
to.
side,
How would
bonk.
I would just.
Isn't that how you do it?
Just bonk it over.
Right? I mean, isn't that all you have to do is just literally like, if it's facing north, you take the neck and it's facing south, and now you're playing like left-handed instead, right?
You know, that could be a possibility of someone to learn how to do.
Here's something. I don't play any instruments, especially not the guitar. How do you decide which hand is the hand playing? Because you're really using both hands. Is it the plucking or is it the stringing?
What?
Which one is the hand that
I
is
can't
the
tell
one?
that you're not a musician.
Because I know all the lingo.
Well, here's my struggle with the guitar is that I'm a very average guitar player because I don't pick very well with my right hand. And so I've always had a hard time playing fun little things. So I just stick to chords and basic strumming. And so I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm playing more with the chords, but like if I held a chord and didn't pluck at all or strum, then nothing would happen. Unless you go really hard on it and you're like ding dong dong dong. Like nobody could ever. If you're listening,
What song is that?
You know what I'm talking about. Where there are some musicians that will just press really hard on the neck, and that makes a noise, and it's actually really cool. Similar to what I sang just now.
One of my favorites is when they just slap the side of the guitar, like the donk, 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 to build up tension.
You like the donking?
Yeah, I do. I really do. One of our previous guests was serenaded once, and I'm not going to say her name, but she was serenaded by someone singing the song Purple Rain right in her face. And like he started off with a big like foot and a donk. So it was like slap on the or like kick on the foot and then a donk on the guitar. And all of us, there's a huge group and we were all looking over watching, and she was just miserable the whole time. So now when I want to make her mad, I play Purple Rain and I like really hit the bottom of the car as hard as I can with my foot.
I think I know who you're talking about.
You probably do. Let's talk a little bit about love.
Okay. Yes.
Let me tell you a story about Randy from high school.
Oh no.
So Randy was always up for an adventure, which is one of the things I think people like the most about you, is that there's never anything that was too weird or I'm not going to do that. I got a hold of tickets to see the first touring company of the Producers. Do you remember this?
I know this story.
Yeah. And so we drove down to see the Producers, Randy and my friend Cody and I. We see the Producers, and on the way home, we've got school the next day. And so we got to drive straight back from the cities, which is a big deal. Like now a drive to the cities is no sweat, but at that time it was huge.
Yep.
And so to stay awake, Cody and I were talking about girls in our grade that we think, we'd like to smooch.
Yep.
And at one point, we thought Randy was sleeping in the back, and she leans forward. She goes, "Well, how about that Randy Olson?" And like that's the kind of person you were. Like you wouldn't just like pretend to sleep there and like let that go by. And that's one of the reasons I think I like you so much, Randy, is because you're like
fishing for the compliments.
Right. Yeah, I mean, listen, somebody's got to go fishing, right? Someone's got to bait the hook.
Do you remember your answer?
I don't.
It was.
You do though?
I definitely, yes. You said, "Oh, Randy, you don't count."
Oh, JJ.
But in all honesty, you don't count in my mind. Like, you don't. You are so much like
I know.
a little sister to me that I would never consider that in a million years. And it's not a diss on you. I think, in fact, in a weird way, it's a compliment that I would never consider you as someone that like, that's your appeal to me, is like, oh, I'd like to smooch. And like, nope. I'd rather have Randy as my friend doing the weird, messed up stuff that we do all the time.
That I fart on sometimes.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's been at least a decade since I held you down and farted on you.
That's true.
Right?
Oh, at least it's been a decade for you.
Until the end of this podcast.
Okay. You were always very friendly with your farts. You never like would be like, "Hey, I'm going to fart on you." You were just like, "Hey, Randy."
JJ would wait
It was
for
a
me to be like
surprise.
face down, like laying on a couch or something, and then he'd completely smother my head and then do it.
Because I am a classy guy. And I like you to know. It's my way of marking. Like an animal, right? So let's talk about love when like young love. Because I think that's the worst time to be in love, but it's also the most visceral, amazing time to be in love, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think around that time, it was, I knew that was going to be your answer when I asked you. Like, we had that rapport and so it was fine. But I think.
Maybe I just didn't want to be rejected, Randy.
I think that's true.
You think that? Yeah.
Yeah. But Cody did not answer. So maybe Cody, we can just pretend.
There's an opportunity there.
There's an opportunity there. But I think, like, for me, one of my gifts is being very emotional. And I've had to learn how to frame it as something positive about myself because otherwise I think I would, I don't know, it'd be hard to exist. But it's true. Like being sensitive and emotional, when that gets out of balance, that's really difficult. But when it's in balance, it's like this superpower. And I think I've learned how to use that in my work. And that's been really amazing and in my relationships. But when you're in high school and emotions are everywhere and hormones are everywhere and there's like no structure for it to like be a healthy thing. And so that's why I started writing music. It started as poetry. I've got a lot of poems in notebooks and things, but it was like what motivated writing songs, or I think for a lot of people, like more artistic expressions. It's like, I don't know what to do with all this, so I'm just gonna find an outlet, that could be somewhat positive.
Can you walk through like all of your original songs and be like Blake, Todd, Marcus, Greg?
Yep, I can.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I still can. I mean, and I think like now that I'm happily married, like I have a hard time writing music. Like that's kind of the next level I want to work through, is just like how to continue to express myself creatively in ways that aren't so motivated by despair and heartache, because like that's why I started writing songs. I never wrote songs to actually play for people until you came along and you asked me, you had heard, I don't know how you even knew, but like you knew that I had written a song or like played a couple of songs, and so you asked me to play at the lip sync contest, and that got me going playing music, JJ. So there you go. But
I'm glad I could have been part of that.
You were. But I was never planning on ever playing them for people. It was more of like a way to deal with matters of the heart, and just like, and so it is, I think it's very vulnerable for people to share their art or writings or whatever it is, because that's coming from a very real core place. And so that's why, I don't know, I've never made music my number one thing, because I don't like to be that vulnerable all the time. Like if someone hears a song and they don't resonate with it, it's like, okay, good. That wasn't for you anyway. You know what I mean?
You jerk.
Yeah. So
enjoy your zoodles.
Yeah. Your zoodles. So I don't know, but how did you guys deal with it? The feels.
Oof. That's a good question. Well, okay, so being like a chubby guy, it's hard, right? Because you don't want to put yourself out there. So everything I did in high school was masked with a like, well, I'll just turn this into some kind of a weird joke, right? And I'll make fun of myself for it. I imagine John Belushi had the same thing when he was a young man. And so I didn't put myself out there that much. I dated one girl really for the most part in high school, and like that was it. Whereas I knew people who were dating somebody new every single week. It took me until I got into my formative elder years where I realized like I'm a real catch. But I hated the emotions in high school. I hated the beginning of dating. It just was awkward and it was weird, and no one's honest with each other about it. You're not honest with yourself about it. So of course you're not going to be honest with other people about it. I hated it. I hated every minute of it. It was just the worst.
Well, there's so many layers. Like you could be dating someone or going out with someone because like you like them, or their status, or they fit in your friend group, or like there's so many different layers as to why you even would choose who you're going with at any given time. There's
who you're courting,
giving your pin to.
I have on my first iPod and somewhere in a stack of CDs like an album that you did at one point. I think it was just called like the Randi EP.
Yeah.
Right. And it's got one of my favorite songs on it, which at one point you told me is retired. It's done. Oh. Like I don't play it anymore.
Yeah.
And do you ever play it at all, or is it retired?
It's retired.
That's awesome. Good for you. Like to be like, nope, sorry world. You're like
It's a
John Lennon. You're like,
think
I'm not
it's a
doing
dumb
it anymore.
song.
Really? But it resonates with your audience.
I don't know. I haven't played for my audience for a while.
Yeah, I was your audience. Listen,
Maybe I'll bring it back just for you.
it's a good song, and I thought it was like fun and catchy. But when you made that first album, what was the thought behind it? Like, I just want to put these things out there, or
Yeah, I think it was me just trying to be cool.
oh yeah,
Like
that's why I wore a scarf for 4 months because I thought it would be cool.
I remember that.
It's a horrible period. Horrible period.
I think I had, because of playing the gig that you asked me to do, I remember that moment. So our high school had these lip sync contests, but while the judges were judging, you had live performances. And so you had asked me to do a song, and I was so nervous and never had played for anyone before. And now I'm playing for like the whole school. And I remember playing the song, it being done, and for like a split second, nobody did anything. And I thought that I was so bad that no one was even going to cheer.
Oh no.
But then everyone stood up instantly, and it was insane. And then I was popular for a couple of days, and it was awesome.
Oh, you were
until people
always
forgot
popular.
about it. But that gave me a boost of confidence that, hey, maybe I'm actually somewhat good at this. What if I wrote more songs? What if I played more stuff? And so I started doing that. And then a friend of mine had some recording equipment, and he was like, hey, why don't we just record some of your songs? And I'm like, that's what people do. And I would looked up to people that I knew, like Brenda Weiler, and
who's coming on this podcast?
She is.
She is.
Oh, sweet. She's so great. And remember Margot Wagner?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there were women that I grew up looking up to in town that had CDs out too. So I was like, well, maybe I'll record some songs. And I never went on to the levels that they did, and I didn't have that desire, but it just seemed like, oh, I don't know, let's just put some songs together and have some fun.
I have a copy of that CD at home. And actually the one that I have, the label was misprinted. So it might've been one of the first ones you tried to print because it only has half of the label printed onto it. There wasn't enough ink in the printer. So you finished the rest of it just by hand. And you gave me a little lovely little message to Tucker. And we had played it on KNDS when we were doing the United Nations Musical Comedy Hour, which I think became Radio Saga over at NDSU.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's in my collection, a Randy original.
I can't believe you guys still have those CDs.
Oh yeah. And what's unfortunate is, so this is a time when, people weren't putting the metadata onto, the information on the disc. And so when I ripped it to put it on my iPod, which is the first edition click wheel iPod,
Yeah.
Firewire, port and everything like that. It's just the Randy EP, and then it's track 1, track 2, track 3,
Yes.
track 4, track 5. So I have to listen to the whole thing to be able to figure out oh yeah, this one's this one's this.
Yeah.
If I could figure out a way to jailbreak that iPod, I would gladly put it into my regular rotation. It's good stuff.
Well, speaking of that,
Yeah.
I did bring something, and I don't know if we'll have time for it.
We don't have the ability to play them at the moment,
Oh.
but we can talk about them.
There is so my mom's cleaning out the basement, and and she keeps giving me stuff, and she gave me this sleeve of CDs
Oh,
that
my
I would keep
goodness.
in my visor.
Yep.
And there's one in here called JJ and Ranvo Mix.
Oh my God. And that's my poor handwriting right on there.
Is it?
That without a doubt is.
I think it. Okay, well, we have the same
Are
poor
you
hand.
are you just dying to know what's on that
I
disc?
haven't listened to it yet because I thought it'd be fun to listen to together at some point.
Yes, we're gonna have to figure out what the track listing is.
And I don't even know
Do you know the odds of songs on there are things like the Fraggle Rock song "Pucka Pucka 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 Squeedly Boink," as well as some song that was popular at that time, whatever musical we were in.
I'm guessing the Winnie the Pooh song is on there.
Oh yeah,
Oh, that's our song.
Do you think the one from Seussical was?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Some Seussical. Yeah. Some from the producers, probably.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting. It's definitely a very theater kid mix, isn't it?
Yeah. I actually brought this home recently, and I have a bunch of other ones. This one's from Mix for Jenny.
Oh,
Jenny
that's nice.
Sheets. And just Randy's mix things that I made. So I put them in our this is called Rockin' Mix.
Ooh, a rockin' mix.
And I put them in recently, and this one's called Caesar Salad Croutons.
You know, there is something that the current generation will not understand. As they build their Spotify playlists and just do those, they won't understand, first of all, the fear of pushing burn disc and then watching it get like halfway, and then all of a sudden the computer futzes out and you're like, come on!
No. In the art form of creating a mixed CD or something and then giving it to someone you care about in a very thoughtful way, you know. But I put
even the cover art that you draw on there, like your crouton disc, like is covered
crouton shapes
in little croutons.
Yep, this is my art ability right there.
Or how about this? Like someone who wrote down every track, they had to have super neat, tiny handwriting.
Like this. This was from a friend.
Oh yeah. So the happy day, like it's got all the little tiny writing on it.
And they had to use a really fine point marker. Pen, and so I put on these mixes recently at home, and I just jazzed out around my house. I was just like dancing and singing, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this song
it's got to be like a love letter to 2001. It's just got to be just amazing.
It's pretty good, but it was everything from like modern hits that would come out to like oldies and musicals, or like a weird quote from a movie track. Like there was, I was so cool, man.
Yeah.
So eclectic.
100%.
Yeah.
Any Dave on any of those?
You know, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. There was a couple to Dave, but I felt like Dave was like its own thing. You know,
this is also in an era too where someone had to actually own the CD that track was on, or illegally download it.
Yes, that's where probably a lot of those came from.
So really, you're sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars of fines right there. You know, ASCAP is going to be after you immediately when they hear this.
I'll take them on.
Will you?
Yeah.
I'll be like, prove it.
You don't know.
That computer that burned the CD.
Your Honor,
so
Exhibit
far,
A, this episode of JJ Meets
deep.
World.
It's so deep. I love stuff like that. I think it's almost like finding an old photo album, and you get a chance to go back in time.
And it really, the music transports you there. Like it like fires up your brain and like all of your senses to like how you actually, it is like time travel. I feel like when a song comes on and it just like takes over your whole body and you're like, oh my gosh, I remember
anytime
this.
you have a friend that makes art regularly, I think you really should. It's like, it behooves you to keep a copy of their art in some way. Because I also have a CD that Pat Fundingsland had made a bunch of his old like electronic stuff that he would like play around with and stuff, you know.
That's so cool.
A bunch of Matthew Burkholder scripts. And you want to hold on to the art that your friends put into the world, because it's an amazing way to cherish them alongside the photos and videos you might have.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I can amass all these things that my friends do, and then one of them like goes crazy.
Right.
And just like absolutely does something, like walks down Broadway completely buck naked. And
He'll be like, well, at least I've got 160 episodes with Tucker about this podcast
exactly.
I can always listen back
so I'll
to.
Be like, put that behind a paywall immediately.
I guess he was eating a lot of mercury.
Yeah, like if you want to know what led up to this, it's going to cost you $1.99 an episode, everybody.
Tucker, we never got to what you do for how you dealt with emotions in high school.
How I dealt with emotions in high school? Poorly. Actually, high school... if we're talking matters of the heart, I actually was doing pretty good in high school. I had a really great girlfriend who I'm still friends with, and it was really the feels after that ended. You know, that the classic high school relationship ends and you go out into the real world as an adult and everything's scary and weird.
Yeah.
Like the year following high school was rough for me because I was learning stuff. I was learning some new emotions. I wouldn't trade a single thing, right? And I'm glad I learned it, but in high school, I would just dive into the things I was trying to make, like movies and stuff, and doing plays and what have you. I would just distract myself. Now it's just whatever feels right in the moment. Kind of depends on what feeling I'm dealing with.
Do you guys listen to the Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. But one thing that I found interesting with his guests is they talk about how they got into comedy And a lot of it was like similar to what you said, JJ, where you're like, well, I didn't know. Like, I found that being funny was just the way of making everything okay.
Coping mechanism.
Yeah. And like there was some like female comedian on, and she was like, yeah, I was never the pretty girl, but I knew how to make everybody laugh. And it's almost like comedy or songwriting or filmmaking, like all these things that it's almost, I don't know why this is, but I feel like most of the time it's kind of, you embrace it because you accept yourself as like the weird kid that's not going to be like the jock football player getting the cheerleaders. So you're like, well, what else can I do? And then you go into that. And I mean, I'm really grateful for the arts in that way because it like gives an outlet for people that I don't know, aren't fitting stereotypes or something like that. I mean, it makes me sad, but it's also like, that's a really great way to realize what your gifts are by being kind of the odd man out.
Isn't it cathartic though when you make art that you just couldn't help but want to make?
Yes.
Doesn't that feel so good? And even if it has no connection necessarily to an emotion you're processing, just the act of going through and doing it and being done with it just feels good. It's like at any time I've been at my most depressed, I would look for even small victories just to go, hey, I got something done today, right? Making my bed in the morning, or going for a short walk. And I think that feeling of victory, of success, maybe that's a better word, of completing something that you couldn't help but want to make is really therapeutic.
Yeah, I really admire that. And because I think in today's world, it's hard to just purely do that. I think there has to be some sort of really strong motivation internally to just be like, I'm just going to make this for me because I want to make it. And there's such a problem these days with monetizing everything, or
is it good for my brand?
Yeah. And that's probably why I don't, like, just with my own music, I don't talk about it that often anymore. I don't do it that much anymore because I feel like so much of what I'm doing is based around my wellness brand and things like that. And I just am like, I don't want that to be touched by this other form of expression. And like, there were times when I started making a lot of progress with my music and like being featured, and like I could have kept going with it. And I actually recorded a few songs a few years ago and played a celebration of women and their music, and was like, I'm like, this is like happening, and I could like, be like the people I admired. And I put a CD out there, and some family friend commented on it of being like, well, Randy, why are your songs so sad? And I'm like, first of all, they're not that sad. Second of all, have you listened to like any other song out there? Like, and people started commenting very personally on something. And when I was trying to monetize something so personal to me, and I was just like, nope, done, shut it down. Like, I couldn't do it anymore. And so I admire that statement, Tucker, because I think that's kind of where I'm at with my own music right now, is just like, how can I do it from a pure place? Yeah. I don't have to be processing these heart feels all the time. I don't have to be monetizing it. So how can I just create something for the sake of creating? It's like tough to get into that space sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes if I'm having a bad day, I draw a picture and I don't even know what I'm going to draw. And it's usually bad. Like, it's not usually a drawing that I would go, hey, look, I'm going to put this up on a wall, but I'll spend an hour doing it.
Yeah.
And I'll, if I'm feeling angry, I'll draw angrily. Yeah. And if I'm feeling sad, I'll draw sad. And sometimes if I'm feeling happy, I'll do that too. Just like you feel so happy where you go, I don't know what to do with this at this moment. Yeah. And no one is around me. It's just me and my cats, and they can't appreciate what I'm feeling right now. So I'm going to draw it out.
Mm-hmm. How do you know they're not appreciating you?
I'm a source of food, I think, mostly.
Do they like throw up on it?
No, they don't. They don't.
Is that how you show your husband negative feelings?
Yeah, just
be like, tacos for dinner.
Very passive aggressive.
Randy, the clock is ticking, and we're running out of time on this thing, which is unfortunate because it feels like we just sat down.
I know.
I've been holding a coffee cup that nothing's in.
Oh, sad.
Just because I feel like I want to be part of the team because everyone else is.
Put your Diet Coke in there, bud.
Because then it's gonna get flat and fizzy.
You love flat and fizzy.
But I don't like to drink it out of a cup.
Add an angle.
I have a drinking problem, you guys. It slips all over my lips.
We just want you to be in our club.
Could we call this podcast Flat and Fizzy?
There's a bunch of things in this podcast we could potentially call it.
Of a song, Randy. Flat and
we should just write one together.
I actually really dig the title Caesar salad croutons. And I'm pretty sure that's also the thumbnail of the episode. It's just a photo of that. I love that so much. So that might be it. But we'll see.
Now, Randy, we did collaborate on a song once, and we got to the title, and that was it. Do you remember what it was?
No.
JJ's a real singer-songwriter.
Yin and Yang. I really wanted to help write a song, but I didn't have any musical talent. But I was like, I could help with the lyrics because I can rhyme stuff. Dead bread, street cred.
Was this when we were driving around in your car one time?
Sure was.
So JJ had this Explorer.
It's a Mountaineer.
Car, and that's what we did like every day after high school. Was just get in the car and drive around, and we would record things in the visor because the visor had a recorder.
Yeah, it was very like early car technology where like if you wanted to like remember an address, you hit a button and been like 1530 Evergreen Terrace.
Yeah,
but we used it for all sorts of shenanigans.
Like one of them, the one I remember the most that we recorded was it's not Y2K, it's Y2Nay because it never happened.
Yeah.
And we just then we laughed at ourselves and then
forever.
Just play that over. And sometimes Jake Harchie would come with us and I would sit on his lap. So it was the three of us in the car illegally driving around with me on his lap.
Do you remember the first time you were attracted to someone because of like their talent or honesty?
Probably like musicians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it was. Do you remember Lindsay, who was in The Music Man with us, played my wife, your mom?
Yes.
She was so incredibly honest and so funny in the role that she had. That I remember that being the first time like I was 100% attracted to her talent and her honesty. She told a great story about why she won't go to curves for women. And she's a high school senior talking about
this. And she also, she's looked like she's got mom vibes. So it's not like some sassy gal, but she's just like some mom vibes. Deliver. Are you going to say what she said?
She's like, I'm not going to go to curves for women and have all those old ladies look at my pubes. And she was 100% serious. But she was one of those people who just, it's interesting because she had her life planned out. Do you remember? Because she was dating the guy. She's like, yep, we're going to get married and we're going to do this and we're going to do this. I don't know whatever happened to her. It'd be interesting to know.
I don't know. I hope she's probably still killing it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure she's crushing it. She probably owns a Curves for Women franchise at this point.
She's one of those people, though, that she's just so matter of fact and like I'm just gonna do things and it's all good. There's not like a lot of like drama behind it or like it wasn't like other girls would be like, oh, I just can't wait to get married and have babies and my life's gonna be perfect. She was just like, nah, this is what I'm doing. I want to do it. So she's probably just still chilling.
Just doing what she's got to do.
Doing what she's got to do.
Oh, I love it. Well, if everything had worked out the way I thought it was when I was in high school, I would think we'd probably have flying cars and we'd be eating our meals in pill form. But thank God it didn't turn out like that.
That is happening.
Meals in pill form or flying cars?
There's a whole company called Airbus.
What?
Yeah.
And it's a bus in the air?
Yeah.
I mean, that's technically what air travel has become at this point.
And you can have, I don't know about pill form, but people are taking lots of supplements to get all their nutrients instead of eating real food. And Soylent, anyone?
Soylent Green?
Is
people.
Is people. No, there's a company called Soylent and it's like a protein or it's like a powder. Yeah. And it's like why they have it, like their slogan or whatever is because if you get all the calories you're ever going to need. So like worst case scenario, you can just have Soylent and you don't ever have to have real food.
So you preach that as part of your self-care routine?
No,
then,
I
right?
do not. Right? Probably. Well, I mean, no, maybe I'm dropping too many brand names now, but I'm just saying, JJ, your dreams have come true.
Oh, wow. They really have. I mean, the more I think about it, and like with drone technology, if you got enough drones, they could probably carry me around. Do you ever watch some of the stuff that they're doing with drones where they instead of fireworks, they have drones that have LED lights on them?
I purposefully don't 'cause it freaks me out.
It's scary.
Tucker, drones?
Yeah.
Anyone?
Yeah. What about them?
Look at your hands.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't lose any fingers, but grabbing a drone mid-flight is stupid.
Yet.
I shouldn't have done it.
Yet.
It was
Think about
dumb.
when the drone decides it no longer wants to be controlled.
Right.
And it's going to fly into your house, and then you're going to be in the bathroom with your husband or wife.
Yeah.
And
There is a great
Pooping
viral
together.
video of some guy. There was like some street party going on that was being too loud, and this guy couldn't get them to break it up. So he attached a Roman candle to his drone and lit the Roman candle. And there's this great footage of this drone chasing all these teenagers through a street, just like firing Roman candles at their party to break it up.
Oh, wow.
No one gets hurt, but it's pretty fantastic. That's what I think drones should do.
be weaponized.
Yeah.
For
That's the
neighborhood
next-
children.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Go home, kids. You're making too much noise, or my drone's going to hit you with a firework.
keep dreaming, kids, because they're coming true.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to play something for us, is my
I
understanding.
am. Yes.
So I think that's the next step of this podcast. And of course, if you want to go to the Facebook page, Tucker likes to videotape these things.
Yeah.
Put them on. So if you want to see Randy play or just listen, either or. Also, if
That's a great intro, JJ.
right,
I guess you're going to play something. I guess Tucker's going to video it because he likes to do that.
there's a clip and there's some Randy's going to play right-handed as she tends to do. So if you want to know which one does the strumming and which one does the stringing, you can find out at the JJ Meets World Facebook page. What are you going to play?
I think I'll just play the song that I wrote about Fargo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wrote it.
Fargo, your secret lover.
Everyone's secret lover.
Fargo's been around the block.
It's true. It's actually, I wrote it years ago about one of the times I moved back to Fargo. It's been a few. But recovering from a broken heart is my first love, the end of that. And I was living out in Utah, and my dad drove out to come pick me up, and he flew out and then he drove me back. And so there's a few verses about, or one of the verses is about like our drive back across North Dakota and some of the scenery. And there's a Below the Donut reference in there for those Tom Szymanski fans.
That's a deep cut. Fargo deep cut right there.
Yeah. And there's, it's basically just about how, I had a lot of appreciation for Fargo because no matter how many times you leave, it's kind of always there for you to welcome you back. And I still feel that way. And a lot of people feel that way. So figured I would play that one for you guys.
Was this the time I convinced you to move back?
No. This
is
was
another time?
I was only back for a little bit. But you did you're the reason I'm here now.
Yeah. You're welcome, metro area.
And you're the reason I started playing music in front of people. I was thinking about that this
you're welcome,
morning.
world.
I'm like, geez, JJ, so influential.
Randy's the reason why I take self-care seriously
Oh, yay.
and like don't just write it off as hippie nonsense. Because I put a lot of stock into what Randy thinks because she doesn't jump into anything lightly. And that's one of the things I appreciate the most about you. So thank you for making me a better person.
Well, that's sweet, of
I mean, I get
course.
the GD guitar out and let's get this
Let's
thing
get
going.
some strumming and some stringing.
Randy, where do people find you online, your podcast, your other resources?
So podcast is Simple Self-Care, and you can just search that and find it pretty easily. And then my website is Naturally Randi Kay. It's naturally RandiKay.com. And my name's spelled weird. But there's that's my blog if you're locally, my services at the studio, and then all of like the details for the podcast and mentoring and stuff is on there too. And that's my handle for Instagram as well, and that's where I hang out the most.
On Insta?
On the Instagrams.
Sweet.
Yep. I know exactly what you're going home to, and you know exactly what I'm not. Though you didn't do what I would have you do, oh boy, I that is true. If it wasn't for your fickle persuasion, I would still be waiting around for you. The tables have turned and I have learned that I can be overdramatic when it comes to this. They say home is where the heart is, yeah, and I got you to thank for that. I thank you, Fargo. The sky's the color of Superman ice cream, and the clouds are evidence of an explosion. And though I feel like I am driving from my dreams, I am soothed with my position. The mountains turn into hills when you were sleeping. The hay bales glow in the evening sun. And as there is a Zorro moon appearing, I know this is what I should have done. The tables have turned and I have learned that I can be overdramatic when it comes to this. And they say home is where the heart is, and I've got you to thank for that. I thank you, Fargo. My season is here. I can wear the cozy clothes that I like to wear, and I am soothed just sitting in my bed, trying not to let the cold, no, don't let that cold, no, can't let that cold get to my head. Let's have another snow day, reminisce about the good old days. Below the donut we go. Thank you, Fargo. The tables have turned and I have learned that I can be overdramatic when it comes to this. And they say home is where the heart is, yeah, yeah. And I got you to thank for this. Thank you.
A huge thanks to Natalie Deutsch of Hatch Realty for sponsoring this podcast. Folks, if you're looking to buy or sell a home, contact Natalie Deutsch today, because Natalie Deutsch is not only a previous podcast guest, she's somebody who's going to care enough to sell your property for top dollar. She's also going to find you the best price possible if you're purchasing a new home. Last year, on average, Natalie earned her clients $4,000 over list price on their homes and sold them faster than the market average. On average, Natalie's selling a home every 3.74 days. That's 2 homes a week. Those numbers don't lie. Find out why Natalie is one of the top agents in this entire market. Get a hold of her today, Natalie at hatchrealtyfm.com. You can also call 701-388-9338 or go on to livefargomoorhead.com. That's livefargomoorhead.com. Read all of her amazing reviews, and then listen to her episode of JJ Meets World. Thanks again to Natalie Deutsch of Hatch Realty. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode of JJ Meets World and would like to help us continue to produce 2 new episodes every week, you can donate to our Patreon. Check out patreon.com/JJ Meets World and donate today. Even as little as $1 a month can go a long way. Visit our website at www.jjmeetsworld.com or hit up our social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the sites the kids are using these days. If you'd like to stay up to date on new episodes of JJ Meets World, you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, YouTube, or wherever you consume the podcast that you love. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by checking out www.moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, go to linebenders.com, and you can find direct contact info for JJ. If I was going to write a song about JJ Meets World, it would be called Tucker and the Chubster. And it would be about our adventures trying to open up a fish sandwich joint in Nevada. And it would go a little something like this. Wait.